Hi, everyone. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the following podcast belong solely to the host and its contributors. They are not necessarily the views of our employers, organizations, committees, or other group or individual.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brewing with BIM. I'm Joe Whitney, as always. With me is Dave Campbell. What's up, Dave?
Hey, not much, Joe. It's another beautiful day in the day of BIM.
All right, perfect. Well, we've got a few gentlemen with us from a great company that's doing scanning and CAD and all the fun stuff that goes in between. So today we're going to chat with Tim Libman and Josh Brown. What's going on, guys?
Not much. How are you guys doing? This is John.
John, oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at your name too, and I butchered that. I am so sorry, man.
Figured I'd just grab you quick on that. No problem at all.
I'm gonna blame the one sip of whiskey.
Oh, nice. Which whiskey is it?
Just some old Overholt. I'm not drinking anything fancy today.
Gotcha.
It's the getting down to the bottom of the liquor cabinet. What do I have? What do I have? Too lazy to go actually brew some beer. Do any of you gentlemen brew?
No.
No, I have not tried. I have not tried brewing myself. I've tried many, but I have not tried brewing yet.
Well, that's a good thing. At least you're trying what's out there, keeping everybody afloat. I think breweries are one of the industries that have really kind of revolutionized during this whole COVID process. Like I've seen direct to order breweries to home, ship to home type stuff like kick up tenfold. It's been crazy seeing all this fun interactive stuff. And they've done the whole spacing and like they'll host small events at their breweries. So cool stuff happening. Anyways, don't want to bore you guys with alcohol, although it is a fun topic. I do want to dive in to get today because we had a previous conversation, John, you and I, about scanning and scan to BIM, and you guys are just north of Philly, as you mentioned. Are you seeing kind of this whole scan to BIM revolution coming to the Philly metro? Is it regional? Are you guys seeing pockets of it, or what's going on?
Yeah, I would say being the guy who's kind of going out in the field right now and taking care of the actual on-site scanning and doing the back-end processing before I hand it over to our project team. Yeah, I would say it's definitely on the rise, and I would attribute that to, of course, our present situation. But I think also I feel like the decision makers, GCs, the ownerships of the projects are kind of seeing the benefits of being able to capture what's happening on site, whether it's mid progress job or right after demo. Yeah, the East Coast is definitely picking up. Like I've been to DC, Maryland, Virginia, New York. So I'd say, pockets for sure, but I think locally, yes, we've done some too. I just feel like as a whole, the East Coast seems to be kind of coming alive and picking up as far as the use of scanning goes on projects.
I love it. Dave and I used to joke about this. Dave's from Indiana, where I think he doesn't think they know how to spell BIM. And
No, not yet.
Scan the cornfields, huh?
There you go. Yeah. But
scans out there.
and I'm everywhere. I'm an everywhere man. I grew up from Massachusetts, and it's funny, even like looking at big cities in Massachusetts, it still doesn't seem like scanning is still commonplace. And in Texas, unless an owner's going to pay for it, nobody was really pushing for scanning in Texas. But in the Pacific Northwest where we were inundated with the amount of companies that wanted scanners and to get into scanning, and it was awesome to talk the workflows up there. So just to be here now, I've been here a year, and in the 8 months prior to COVID that I was actually out interacting with people face to face, I can tell you, BIM was coming. It was definitely on their minds. So definitely seeing this scan revolution happen it's awesome. And I love that you guys are leading the way. You guys are, taking those services on internally because, so real quick, I'm chatting, I'm ranting about this, but I have this thought. And do you guys think that it's become more of an issue for a firm to take on scanning services themselves versus contracted out, or is it easier and more readily acceptable for them to contract it out?
I would say I'd say it's easier to contract it out because now of course I'm talking from a bit of a bias because I do it for our company.
It's fine.
But the reality is, okay, so you're gonna get a $60,000-$80,000 scanner. You're gonna grab the software. Are you gonna get like a web share platform for it, like the Faro one that we use? Autodesk has one as well. And there's other softwares that have. So who's running it? Like, are you okay? Is it Joe? So it's Joe. Hey Joe, grab the scanner and go head out. We need you to scan, 500 West Broadway Street today. We've got 5 floors, so go ahead and grab those scans and when you're done, just load it up and send it to the project manager for that job. Like who's doing the scanning? Do they know what they're doing? Do they know how to? When you go on site to operate the scanner and move it around, it's not brain surgery, right? You grab the scanner, but what are you looking for? Is there like certain points in the building to existing ductwork? Is there piping that you need to see? Like what does that person that you're going to hand the scanner to understand what they need to capture and how it's going to translate at the end of the day when it goes to the next stage of that particular project? So your investment is the equipment, but you really need to invest in a person that's going to like handle that job as well. Because if you're just dropping it on somebody like, 3-4 different people in the office, are they taking care of the equipment? Just little things like that. But I think contracting it out cost-wise, when you factor that into the price of a project or the cost of a project, unless you're going to have somebody run it and you can sustain it and make, it's worth your while to have that and have somebody run it within your own company, then that's great. But I think contracting it out is the way to go. Cost.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I'm thinking like you're just touching on a piece of it as well. I'm working with a scan right now where somebody went out and they just moved the scanner around, which is all right, but at the same time they didn't have enough overlap in like
Right.
portions of the building or even trees or anything that I can recognize, something to give me as a reference point, because they didn't use targets either. So here I am trying to pick points and I'm like, I think this will work, and you know what, no, it doesn't work. And here I've spent 2 hours trying to put this scan together, like, gosh, like I can't, I need them to go out and redo this. Or that even transitions into if you have a person who knows how to scan, do you have a person who knows how to process that data correctly, in the sense that they give you a deliverable that you can use? And if we take it that far, can we take it to the next step? What are you doing with that data? Because unfortunately, a lot of people I think get tunnel vision, right? And they think, okay, we get this scan and that's our as-built, that's what it is, that's what we need. And they don't think about what else they can get from that data, how much more they can actually pull from that scan, because all they're trying to do time after time is just to get that as-built, that digital twin, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve, and from a guy who comes from not a CAD background, I don't come from a CAD background per se, but like to go out and make a few mistakes and figure out what you need to do. Like you say, I've had a couple scans early on where I scanned and just moved it too far or around too many obstructions, and you might have to go back out on site, and now you're adding more time, and what you're selling is the fact that you can get things turned around quickly and accurately. Yep. Well, and all of a sudden now, hey, here the scan guy needs to come back and do more scans because he didn't get him enough in the right space. It doesn't show too well, but that's what it is, right? So there's definitely as simple and as easy as it sounds to run out there and set up the scanner and do some scans. What settings are you putting the scanner on? How many points do you need to capture? Like, are you capturing like a 40 million points per scan, or can you do less? Are you using color? Do you need color? Do you black and white? Like, just little things like that make a difference at the end.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. I actually borrowed the Topcon GLS 2000 for a week, and I was determined to scan my house. And I was like, well, I've played with total stations before. I played with a scanner here and there before. I'll figure it out, right? And I ended up printing the user manual, the owner's manual, so I could kind of learn how to just scan with this thing, just so I knew how to get through the menu of it. And all right, I set it up, and I'm thinking total station. I'm like, all right, occupy and backside. I'm like, wait, no, this is not a total station. Okay, all right, so I got to think differently a little bit, right? Yes, I have to set up my occupy, like my control point, right? And even that in itself is a way of thinking. When you move from one control point to the next, you need to rename it, set it up. Essentially every machine in itself is different too in the way that it does this. And you got to know how to take all of that information after you've gone through, and trust me, it is a very hard learning process, and I am no expert at it. I could tell you that. I stumbled through it.
I was thinking about it from a different aspect. So when I asked you this, I had my own bias in mind. I was thinking, okay, well, it's actually, I'm thinking easier. We're DIYer guys. We're like, oh yeah, we can do this. We can do the scan stuff. But I was thinking more or less it's harder to do the processing, post-processing than it is to actually set up the scan. I've been in the survey for a while. I know scanning, I can do all that stuff, but I didn't think about all those subtleties that you guys mentioned. It's like, oh yeah, most people don't know, make sure that you've got enough overlap for auto stitching. If you are using control points, make sure that you're shooting in that way it all auto stitches together at the end. Like, there's a lot of things, nuances that come with it. Hey, is there too much noise here? Are you trying to capture the other side of this duct? Well, you're gonna need another setup. Like, a lot of different things that we don't think about. So you guys are right on the money there. But what do you guys feel about the post-processing side? Do you think that takes a lot of practice as well? And before I let you answer that, one more thing, because let me expand on that just a little bit. A lot of times when you hand somebody a scan and you say, okay, I'm done, here you go, more often than not, I always hear, oh, well, we don't even know how to use this, or this is garbage data. It's like, well, is it garbage? Did you know what to ask for? Or do you even know how to use the what was delivered? Like, there's a whole misconception that it's just easy to bring in, and I'll start modeling from a day one.
Okay, so that's exactly it. And this is a learning curve, again, on the back end of it, right? So that's the front end. We covered that. The back end, for sure. Like, I learn stuff like almost every time I do a scan. I'll learn something different, how to handle the point cloud, or pull a piece of data out, or segment the scan a certain way. Like, this technology is growing all the time, but I definitely learn things every time I'm working on a project, which is good. But to your point, we've learned too. Like, when we first started a couple years ago doing this, 2.5 years ago, you do the scan, we use the scan, then we hand the client the scan file. And to your point, Joe is what is this? What is this? 50 gigs? Okay. What do I do? How do I open this? What do I open it in? Okay, yeah, I see pictures of the project we're working on, right? So educating the client through this whole process has really been, and I've heard a lot of other scanning people talk about this too. It really is an education process to get clientele. Like, why should I use this, and what is it, and why is it good for me to use? So yes, on the back end, there's a lot you can do. I mean, it's very versatile, but how do you do it, and what does your client need? So that's kind of like right now, one of the big things is, okay, someone will call and say, I think we should scan this space. Okay, sure, what is it? Look at the space. Okay, why do you need, what do you need from it? Because I've actually said to people, I don't think scanning's a fit for what you need here. Like, I can scan this, yes, and do this, but I don't, you know what I mean? Like, what do you need from the scan is the big question. Is it are we looking to verify what's there on site? Do you need us to, take the scan and then model the structure and architecture to make sure columns are in the right places? Are floor to slab heights correct? Is the ceiling structure, what kind of, beams are we looking at? So, and what do they need at the end? Do they need install drawings? Do they need a model that they're going to design from? It's an architecture firm. So it's just a lot of questions that need to be asked up front. And sometimes I don't think you can rely on the clients to know what to ask. So I think with us, it's just, kind of feeling out what they need and let them know that what we can produce for them from the scan.
So you've almost got to educate them the whole step of the way, because they might be sold on the idea of scanning, but what is the power of scanning for the purposes for the intended outcome, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's a key thing. Dave and I chat about this. Like, I think the more tools you have, the more often you want to use those tools. So if you had a scanner, you would want to use it more. But are you scanning for the right purposes? Are you just wasting money? Is it too much data for no reason? Me, I love data. Give me all the data you want, but then again, I'll fill, terabytes of useless information that I'll never sort through. That said, though, coming from the survey and scan industry, like thinking back and looking at it, you have to have somebody that uses that tool, maybe not daily, but at least once a week to be up on it. So if you are going to get into scanning, you're going to do it for yourself, that's great. But make sure that there's a dedicated person or a team of persons that is going to regularly use that scan technology, so that they're up on it, so that, it's calibrated, it's well taken care of, so that, it's not having to relearn the processes over and over again. I know for me, like CAD software, I don't get in CAD software near as much as I used to. And I feel like, every now and then it takes me a few seconds to reorient myself. It's the same thing with any technology, I imagine.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you guys. I was thinking about it, and I've been having this conversation lately with a lot of different people on scanning and verification, and modeling versus scanning and scan to BIM type of conversations. But my question would be, how do you guys see it to? I guess a lot of people are having issues with getting this into the contract, right? Figuring out how to get a service like verification or scanning coordination, type of things, or even the scan to BIM into the contract itself. How do you guys see that kind of? I mean, like, because you guys are the full package. I see you guys doing a little bit of everything. How do you guys see this working into the benefit of, as we say, this BIM transition to construction, and BIM into, like say, scanning into design, and of course scanning into construction?
Yeah, I think renovation projects, you probably start to see it become more a standard part of the process. I've been to many jobs where they're they got studs going up and we're running in there to scan corridors because the overhead beams are inconsistent as you go down the corridor, and they're having trouble running their mech pipe down. So they want to get, verify what's happening and have us model it and incorporate it now into the model and correct the layout for the services in the ceiling. But again, it's mid project. So almost the writing's on the wall. Like, what kind of what's that cost, right? Are we throwing away duct work? Are we throwing away pipe? And
at least at that point, you're still saving them some money, though, because they're catching it.
Yes. But going forward, the next project that comes down, hey, we should probably, once demo is complete, let's get the scan taken care of so we know. Because, a lot of cities are, going into these older buildings and repurposing, like could be an old factory or, and they're putting, condos in there. There's a lot of that kind of projects, a lot of those types of projects going on where, as we go in mid-project on, say, a job prior, the next big project they do, they're going to be thinking about the benefit that had on the last project. So, yes, it's just that education side, like what is scanning and why, what's the benefit for it, and just getting some of these decision makers, owners of these projects, general contractors, to understand, like, hey, this is worth your time. What are you going to save in the long run if you add up, the mistakes, the all these things that compile on a project. If you can eliminate 60% of that or more, with a scanning your project at the beginning, what's the value?
And going back to like a renovation, you think about how many people does a GC need to send out to get field verifications just to get simple measurements done? I mean, you're spending hours, you're spending, how many, like I said, how many people have to go out just to take these measurements versus you send one guy out with a scanner, it could take a day, it could take 2 days, depending on how big it is. But
and you're not sending the rookie out to measure, right?
No.
Right. So, I mean, you take these scans, you compile it, and then, probably within a week or so, you've got the whole scan, you got a whole point cloud, and you got something you could actually work with in BIM in a matter of a week, so that's incredible saving.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I see it kind of spreading out even more than that. I mean, I see in that term of verification, I've seen quite a bit of varying usages of it in terms of course, renovation for knowing what the as-built conditions are going to be so they can model accordingly. Because as we all know, if you start off on the wrong foot, that's just going to set you off. And the farther that you get in your project, the more that's going to grow. You know what I mean? It's like if you set off a beam or a column, let's say you set off a column a 1/16 of an inch at the base, and it's just slightly off, like angled a little bit. By the time you get to the top of that column, it's going to be off maybe a few inches, right? And that can affect an entire project. And one thing I've been really passionate about throughout this is, of course, scanning to get as-built conditions. But for me, even, I see it as a big use on new construction projects for, we were just talking about QA, QC, right? A lot of these subcontractors or general contractors, when they put in that bill to get paid, right, for this amount of work that's been done, they have to send someone out typically to verify that work, right? And they go out, they check those conditions, and of course they're sending several people sometimes to do this. And if people don't recognize things, or if they do this too late in the process, work that needed to be caught earlier in the process is now offsetting the entire project, and they're trying to scramble with all the other disciplines to see how they can make this work and under budget. And it's just, to me, I see the writings on the wall. As you guys said, it makes sense to do these scans throughout the process of construction, throughout that life cycle of construction.
Yeah, I almost believe that scanning should be part of estimating for an as-built, for a TI job. Like a scan, if an owner gave you a scan, or whoever gave you the scan, right, of an existing project that needed to be remodeled, TI, whatever, retrofitted for new equipment, whatever you want to call it, that scan almost becomes so invaluable. Everybody could get accurate data off of it. It becomes, in my mind, it's, if you were to do it on your own, right? You want to do a bid, but you ask for, okay, I'll do a bid, but let me go scan. That scan would give you everything you need to know, or damn near everything you need to know, to present an accurate bid, rather than looking at PDFs that could be, 20 years old.
Definitely. And even speaking about like the new building, the benefit of scanning in a new building while construction is upcoming is actually a project that we're working on quite recently. It's like a 30 or 40 story high rise. And the issue that they're running into with it was that certain points for floor penetrations are not lining up right with what the information that we are getting. So what we have in the office is not what's actually going on in the field, and we're trying to figure out exactly what the issue is, where is it. So we go out and we do your typical thing where you do it the old-fashioned way. You measure it out and you find exactly where the issues are, exactly how far off you are, and we come back and we report and we try to figure out what the issue is, and we cannot for the life of us determine where we are off. So we decide, hey, why don't we take the scanner out? We'll actually shoot the entire floor, and we'll see exactly how that lines up with what we have modeled and what it's supposed to be in the field, right? And we figured out that, as the building's going up, how you say, it could be off a 1/16 of an inch. And, when you're up 20 stories, that 1/16 of an inch turns into an inch or an inch and a half. And you're noticing that these portals to the floors above and below, they're not really lining up just right. And if it wasn't for the scan and we're not measuring and pulling all these exact dimensions for the scan, there's no way we'd ever be able to determine to a definitive answer that, hey, we are off an inch because this column might be off a 16th of an inch.
We definitely need to give everybody a lesson on compounding error. It's a real thing. It's taught in survey, right? Like, if I'm off of, a 16th of an inch here, that error is triangulated and carried through every point that I shoot after that. Well, same thing with construction. Everything that's built off of that 16th of an inch being out is therefore at least a 16th of an inch out, and then whatever error on top of that. Yeah. Pain in the butt to work around.
Yeah, and on this particular project, you had they were pouring floors. We were, I think, on the 20th floor, and they were pouring like the 26th floor. But the concrete guys were using different points, control points, than the guys who were laying out walls on like the 4th floor. So everyone was using a different set of points. So it was like that's where the confusion came in. Like they gave us control points, for there was no scanning was involved at this point yet, the ground up project. To your point about scanning as the project is going, right? So you get a few floors done, let's scan it and verify that this is coming along as it should be. Well, they're calling again, here's one of those situations, they're up on the 25th floor, and now they're saying, okay, there's an issue here.
Right. Yeah, it's too late.
Oh my goodness, boys! Like, what the heck? Are we just figuring this out now? So then, go out, scan it, and then you can overlay that scan on the model. And I mean, so there's another piece right there. You take that floor, you overlay the 20th floor on the 20th floor of the model, and you can see where things are off because the scan, is accurate to what's in the field. So I mean, just the scanning itself, it's very versatile in when you can use it and what you can use it for. So
I see a transition in our industry, and I see it kind of going like across the entire country. And that's that, of course, scanning is getting more adoptable. It's getting more implementable, like with mobile scanners, cheaper scanners. We're getting a few different processing softwares that are giving us these kind of scans, right? I mean, they're point clouds to a degree, the masses, things like that. And we're even starting to see some scanners that are actually transitioning a scan itself into geometry, into masses that populate a 3D model. I'm seeing this, this transition of our industry towards where we are adopting scanning at a very fast rate. Everybody's seeing the usage for it, right? And I think we're kind of at that tipping point where we really need to just tip that cup over essentially and just go for it, right? And I see you guys on the tip of that with the different services that you offer. I mean, a lot of the I want to say the varying usage of these scans to the designs themselves to get a degree of accuracy, right? That's going to be another big thing, because a lot of people hate on point clouds because they think they're not accurate. They say, oh, well, based off the scanner that you have, it has so much, let's say, I want to say tracking. Is it? It's just based off of how far it goes. It tracks, tracks off so far.
It's the same reason surveyors hate GIS data, but garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really think, I agree completely. And I think the more that we're putting into this, the more that we can understand how we can use that data. And of course, we're sharing this information, such as in this podcast here, but, we want to share how much we can use this data, how much value this brings to everybody, not just a general contractor or a subcontractor, the owner themselves. Everybody can find this usable.
Yeah. You and I have a buddy, Travis, who flew to Singapore and scanned, was it the airport or something there? It was a big structure. And they scanned for the owner and found that they had used the wrong gauge steel beams. Some beams were shorter. They jerry-rigged stuff. Like, it's complete waste, and they saved, I don't know, I think it was, I'm going to butcher the number, and this is one of those statistics.
Don't quote us on statistics, right?
This is one of those statistics people are going to look at me and be like, oh, that's not right. But it was something 300,000 or 3 million. It was something significantly up there that they found all these errors. and it had to go back and get fixed. And luckily the project was completed, but they had to replace a lot of stuff because those scans dictated that they verified that the wrong information had the wrong sized equipment had been installed.
Yeah. That's, I mean, when you're talking about projects like that too, and you got, they're picking up insufficient structure issues like that. I mean, comes down to, in that particular case, probably some safety too, right? You get some things that aren't built.
Oh yeah. That's somebody's lives. That's not only lives, but that's lives and lawsuits, 10 years down the road when they get an earthquake or something.
Oh, yeah, so it's safe to say scanning saves lives, right?
Right.
That's my new T-shirt, guys. Scanning saves lives.
Hey, you know what though? Really, they're starting to use. I've seen scanning for detecting safety issues. If they scan the job sites at the end of the shift, end of the night, or what have you, if they have this little mobile scanner that runs through almost like a spot or something, it can go through. I want to hook up an iRobot, little Roomba or whatever it is, and put a scanner on top of that and let it go throughout these job sites and scan for safety issues, any OSHA violations, things like that, to detect things that actually can save lives. It's crazy.
There's technology out there like SmartVidIO and other ones that auto detect based off of mass data, and I don't know if it does point clouds, but it definitely does videos and 360 photos and regular photos, that sort of stuff. But if you have something walking the job site actively taking photos, it uses all these algorithms and pattern recognition to pick up when people aren't using PPE or if they're don't have their seatbelt buckled, or this guy doesn't have harness on but he's 2 feet from the ledge, or something like that. It picks up all that information. So Dave, all you have to do is when this comes out, go get your new iPhone, mount it on your Roomba.
I'm gonna get it.
To walk on the job site.
There you go, man. I like it.
Well, to your point too about something like the scanning too, with using the scanner and getting these point clouds, of course, are great on the design side and incorporating that, modeling that information, so then you're working off an accurate model. But on the client side, again, we talked earlier about hand them a point cloud. Well, what do I do with that? But having that ability to, and we use the Faro platform, but having that ability to share the job site, even just on the photo side of it, right? You can actually go through the site without having to go there. I just did a mechanical room this morning for down in Philadelphia, and I'm going to send him a link to the web share that Faro hosts, and he's going to be able to go there, and we can look online. He can say, oh, you know what, I'm going to change this pipe over here. I'm going to have it penetrate this part of the wall, and we're going to run it this way. You know what I mean? Like, now we don't have to drive to the site. Like, just the collaboration ability with the scan on top of course, the value of the points, the point cloud itself, but having that ability to collaborate online, I think, is also something we've seen in the last, say, 6 months. That's been something that clients really appreciate, and I think get a lot out of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes hand in hand with the way virtual business is conducted nowadays. We're working on a project now, and it's a plant over local near us. And John went out and did a scan for it. And the owners and our clients, they're located all throughout the United States. We have people in Chicago, we have people in Philadelphia, New York. When we do our weekly meeting, we're pulling all these people in from different time zones. We're showing them this 3D scan of this plant, and we're bringing in the 3D model that we've been working on, showing the new equipment. And they're blown away with how it's like they're there. They could see exactly what it's going to look like in the future once the equipment is actually installed. They don't have to travel out anymore. So they save, once again, they're saving incredible amounts of money just by attending a quick hour-long meeting.
Yep, I completely agree. And I mean, that's another type of deliverable that's going to help with the project itself. I see that also stemming into space planning, right? I mean, scanning with space planning, especially when you get these strip malls that seem to be popping up everywhere. There's a lot of older spaces that they want to do something with, and we're seeing places like WeWork, and there's so many different ones to call out, honestly, but they're integrating and using the space, right? And I think getting a scan and going off of that, at least at first, to start, to actually plan what you're going to use these spaces for, and then kind of go from there instead of just walking in it blind is going to be beneficial for anyone.
Yeah. And to Tim's point too, and sort of on that as well, like we're using the scan a lot is part of the design process. Some of these plants have huge fans and ductwork that runs hundreds of feet to a different part of the plant, and just from the scan alone, like our guys will bring it into say Revit, and they'll start designing while like right with the scan in Revit, so that they can see what's there, avoid clashes right while they're designing. And then you have that CAD model now sitting right in the scan, so when the clients see that while we're in the meeting, they can see, okay, here, well, let's turn on the new duct system or whatever, and see how that looks, and it's sitting right in there in real time in the plant.
And meetings
definitely helps with visualization.
Yeah.
Right now, the feedback that we're getting from our clients and these plant managers is that in these meetings, they're getting way ahead of themselves in detail, things that they couldn't do normally with back with a 2D blueprint. They're seeing the stuff in the actual 3D scan. They're seeing the model. They're asking questions that detailed stuff that they usually wouldn't even get until the stuff's actually being installed in the field. Now they're asking this in this design phase, and that's it's a game-changing thing for them.
It is, yeah. And I mean, I think that's a huge point for this in general. I mean, it's a huge tie to that visualization, right? And to think about, really, it's sales, right? You're selling it, but you're also at the same time educating them, because the people have to be excited about it. If they're not excited about it, they don't engage with it, right? Yeah. But if you get an owner engaged, excited about what they're doing, and then you get a little bit experience, you educate this owner, or that you get someone with experience that has done this before, they know the questions to ask. They're just waiting to get involved in that process. And if you can, again, as you guys are saying, get them involved sooner, it's awesome. It gets them, excited for this project. It gets everyone, I want to say, excited and kind of moving forward. And I want to say it makes everyone feel better about the process. I feel bad for those owners that go through this process of building construction, and this is their dream, this is what they want to do, and then at the end of the day they get not what they expected, or things just weren't delivered as promised, or what have you. I really feel bad, and I want to get to that point where we as a whole, as an industry, can educate them and say, okay, this is what we can offer, this is how we can do things. And I think that scanning is a huge proportion to that.
Yeah. I think COVID is actually going to bring about a lot of low cost opportunities for owners, for people to become owners. We'll see what happens, right? But thinking about it, I've already seen commercial real estate take a slight dive. So thinking about all these people that are going to get into it now, like, there's this opportunity. I could buy this strip mall, renovate this, do whatever. If that owner is not educated, they're going to be spurned. They're not going to want to get into it. They're not going to want to invest any more money. They're not going to do all this stuff. And this is a conversation I've had with an ongoing conversation I have with an architect about, like, they sell a specific type of design services to a client, to an owner, and their whole purpose of what they do is in educating the owner, but they can't really educate the owner on all the costs and mishaps of BIM and what they should do and all that sort of stuff. Especially as a new owner, they feel like it might scare them away. But I think if you have those conversations, I think I don't know. I think you might be surprised at how accepting they are of it. And an educated person, in my mind, if you give me information, I feel more invested in. I feel more happy. I feel like there's more communication going on, and I'm probably more likely to do it again.
Yeah, and I feel like if we can, back to your guys' point, if we can get them invested or get them excited earlier, get them involved earlier in the process, it's beneficial for everyone, right? I've been on this huge kick lately. with thinking about common data environments and getting everyone involved, making sure information is available to everyone. Because it's really when you make that information available that people start again getting interactive, and they kind of start that collaboration process where an owner would get involved a little bit sooner and say, hey, actually, this pipe is sitting here and this is going to go through my showroom or something, and could we move this over? Anything like that they can get involved with that much sooner in the process, and it's going to save everybody that time. And I think that's huge. It's really huge.
Yeah, a term I've heard before, I've read it. I don't know. I think it was on just reading through some articles at some point, like demystify. Like, you know what I mean? I think some people just hear the word point cloud and 3D scanning, and it's like, wow, what is that? I don't even know what that sounds like, magic or some crazy thing, right? But like you said, if you can bring them in the process, which is very easy to do when you have visuals, that's huge too, because again, they're not going to be the ones messing around with the point cloud and trying to figure out how to manipulate that data. They're going to see the benefits of it, but if you can bring them in along the process, then it makes more sense. Like in what Tim was talking about, the one project, the owner comes to our office and he loves it. He sits here and he's sitting here making decisions, and we're sitting here in the office instead of down in a 80-degree, 90-degree weather at a plant while the machine's running in the background, and he's sitting here making decisions on this stuff. So he's in the process. And like you said, if you can bring people along, it kind of actually it gets the energy going. It doesn't have that flipping through pages, you're actually looking on a screen. It's interactive and it's productive.
You could keep people engaged throughout the entire ladder of the project. People are engaged, and not just as you're going up to the hierarchy from the owner to the GC down to the draftsman. It's also across the timeline. The scan, it could be applicable throughout the entire life of the project and thereafter too.
Oh, I completely agree. Transitioning that over to an as-built is awesome. I think that if you hand someone, of course, the 3D model as it was last, and then a scan, I think that's a great thing to have. That's valuable to me, at least. And then I think as a building owner, as that building transitions, because as we all know, buildings grow, they change. I mean, they're not living things, but at the same time, they really are. If you look at all the different systems and things that make up a building, and as it goes throughout its life cycle, it grows. These factories, what have you, they start adding on, and you get into these older buildings now that have had several additions, and the last CAD drawing that we have is like the original or something, and you have 2 or 3 undocumented, additions or whatever. I think just being able to give someone that data, and that owner knowing, hey, this is possible. Let's go ahead and send someone out to scan this as it is right now. And you know what? I have a 3D model as it is here, and I have this digital twin that I can deliver someone. And I'm maybe it's not a digital twin, it's a point cloud, what have you. They're delivering that point cloud to that, so at least they can archive that much in the process. If they have someone, updating the as-built model, okay, even better, right? Because at that point, it's going to help them when they start to, if someone responsible wants to go ahead and transition it, again, they can build off of that as-built model, which of course is really what we want to be able to see. But I mean, I think it's just another step in the process. But I think it's hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
I have a kind of unrelated question. So you guys are the whole enchilada. I was looking at your website, and you guys do everything from regular 2D, 3D CAD to coordination to spooling to creating point files. Like you guys literally do everything. So with that, though, I'm just curious, how often are you guys bidding both on the same job? See you guys heavier on the CAD side, heavier on the scan side? I'm curious how this works out as a business model for you guys.
Definitely heavier on the CAD the coordination, the drafting side is the bones of this company. Scanning was an addition 2.5 years ago. more of a trial. Our owner's like, yeah, let's see what this is. He's a tech guy, right? He's been doing CAD since CAD started. So, and he was a field guy before that. So he kind of knows his way around both sides of the construction life cycle, I guess, if you will. So he added that, and then so really we're a drafting CAD company, and then we've added scanning into that and folded it into the mix. So we just reach out to our existing clients, our repeat clients that we do a lot of work for, and we've started adding scanning to their projects, and they see it. Hey, let us come out and try one on, so you can see what this is. So I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but I mean, to integrate scanning into the process, sort of creating us as a one-stop shop. So, you know what I mean? If we can recommend scanning, we'll look at, so any bidding that we do on projects, we look at it and see like, hey, would scanning fit here? And then we provide a separate, like, hey, if you need us to scan this, here's what we're thinking, here's what this would cost. And then we can generate a conversation on that. And why, if it's someone who hasn't used it before, doesn't really know what it is, but they know who we are as a company, it seems to be working out pretty good.
All right. I realized we failed to ask earlier, but can we get a little bit of history on you guys? What's your background?
Personally, background?
Well, how did you guys get started in the industry? What led up to you being where you are now?
And then over the company. And let's shine on the company too.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So DJM's been around for about 15 years. I know a little bit about the beginnings of it, but it started as a mechanical contracting company. So the guys out in the field, like installs, bidding on jobs. They had a duct shop as well, a sheet metal shop, and then slowly kind of transitioned into doing the CAD side of it, doing the actual producing the drawings, and then phased away about, say, 10 years ago from the actually sheet metal shop, being on site, to moving right into just doing the CAD side, doing the drawings. And now that's all we do, is just all the drawing work and CAD side, BIM coordination. Founded by our owner Dan. Like I said, he's been doing this since he's 18 years old. So he's got a good hands-on knowledge in the field, and then also the CAD side as well. So good guy to have at the top. And all our drafters draw specific trades. So we have sheet metal guys so they're not drawing pipe one day, sheet metal one day, and architecture or structure another day. So it's the company's separated in that way. So I think that helps as well. So when we're doing a sheet metal job, the guy who's drawing that's all he does. So he understands that trade well enough to be versed in coordinating and being in meetings and answering questions.
Yeah, that's how you get a subject matter expert, essentially. That's how you really understand what they need.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's been a big part of the success of where this company is, the way it's set up that way. And then personally, myself, I originally from Toronto, Canada. So I moved here to PA about 20 years ago, and I actually worked at a ski area for about 15 years, and I went to school for urban and regional planning, so that's kind of what I was interested in back then. Didn't really get too much into the CAD programs quite then. It was a lot of hand drawing still, and sort of just getting into the CAD side. So this company here was actually just looking for somebody to start up the head up the scanning division here. So I kind of worked my way in. I saw that and applied, and here I am 2 years later. So I kind of got to learn it from the ground up with a minimal CAD drafting background, knew a little bit, but certainly understand the value coming from just not knowing anything about it to where we are today, where I am today, with understanding the scanning and the importance of it. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background.
Yeah. And for me, it's a bit of a short story, but I went to school for mechanical engineering. I wanted to be a project engineer. DJM is a company that I've been with my entire career. They hired me as a 3D draftsman and designer. Worked there. I drew mainly plumbing for a few months.
That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Pitch pipe, copper insulation.
Pitch pipe.
But it taught me a lot about, the actual industry, because in school you don't really learn much about, you learn about CAD, you learn all that stuff, but you don't really actually get to apply it. So it kind of gave me the hands-on drafting experience that I needed. Position opened up in assistant project management, so I jumped on that, and the company's been very good to me. And I've been moving up through project management and, managing my own projects now. And, that was about a 2.5-year long story here.
Nice.
Great story.
You know what I really love about all of that, honestly, is that you guys have such a varied experience. And then, of course, you guys have a very varied profile in what you guys can offer. I'm kind of stumbling on myself here, probably the second old fashioned that I'm on, but
oh, that sounds good. I'm jealous.
Oh, dude, you know what?
30 minutes, T-minus 30 minutes, and I'll have one.
Right.
Water.
Dude, it's funny, but I went to a farmer's market this last week, and there was a local distillery who had their rum out there. It's called Just Rum. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I like a good spiced rum every once in a while. And this guy, he's asking me what I said, I drink a lot of whiskeys. I drink some spiced rum. And he goes, man, I got this rum here. It's rested in Oregon oak. So it's got this kind of oaky finish. And he's like, I love it in old fashions. I'm like, really? Well, all right. So naturally, I had to buy a small bottle of it. And of course, I bought their Just Rum and Spice because I'm a sucker for some spiced rum. Oh, man, I tell you what. Oh, it's great smoky finish. You can taste the oak in the rum. It's kind of crazy.
It sounds good, though.
You got sold, man. He read you. He was like, this hipster, this guy in Portland. Of course, he likes old fashioned. He said he liked rum.
It looks like he drinks old fashions. Let's go.
Let's sell him this garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Portland farmers markets. I don't know. You were probably in Sandy, but Oregon farmers markets are freaking awesome, man. They're a different breed of farmers markets. Although I am getting used to the ones here in PA. I haven't been to one quite as I don't know how to say, is bountiful with the craft and artisanal stuff that they had up there.
Yeah, wait until you start going to some flea markets and stuff, Joey. The Midwest is amazing with some flea markets and trade shows. Dude, I tell you what, I could find anything I was looking for at a flea market or trade show. I could find the classic car parts. I could find animals. You can find fresh cheeses, eggs. It did not matter. It's
I want
everywhere.
a llama, man. So
A llama. He wants a llama.
I've been reading this book, Turn Right at Machu Picchu, and they keep talking about like llamas in Peru and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I really want a llama, man. That'd be pretty cool.
She's like a 5-year-old. She wants a llama.
Yeah.
She's got this little dancing llama, and she's like, Dad, I really want a llama. No.
Of course. Well, you're close to Mount Hood. On the other side of Mount Hood, there's actually a llama farm on the
an alpaca farm.
Yeah, alpaca. Sorry.
Yeah.
The alpaca farm.
There's an alpaca farm right by me, right around the corner.
Man, I need to get out to Philly more.
Oh, yeah.
In the city, people actually walk their alpacas.
Yeah.
You see that on the news every now and then.
You're joking with me.
That would be amazing.
No. Urban cowboyism. You can look at a very popular thing in Philadelphia. People have little horse ranches and just vacant lots. They stable their horses.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My mom lives in North Dallas area, and she's got chickens in her small little city lot. It's like, 1/10 of an acre or whatever. So like I can picture chickens, but putting your
llamas, dude. A llama. If I saw somebody walking a llama, I would have to stop, and I'm gonna ask them. I don't care who they are. I'd be like, "Can I pet your llama, please?"
These people are so numb to it. They'll be like, "What? This llama?
This llama right here? Yeah. Go ahead, pet this llama."
You can't buy a llama? I thought you
and then it spits at you.
Like, what's up, Tina?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
I caught your reference, man. I caught your reference.
You got it.
Got it.
Thank you so much for coming on, guys. Really. Thank you.
We definitely appreciate it. I do have 2 questions left. So earlier you said tech is changing all the time.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on these new mobile scanners?
What, the ones that you can like keep going in motion?
Yeah, like GeoSlam technology or what's called the IMUs in it and all that fun stuff. Like, what's your thought on those and maybe the noise density? Have you guys looked into any of those
backpack
yet?
scanners, right?
Yeah, backpack scanners. Well, they have those. They have the ones on the wheels. They've got all kinds. They've got, Carta makes this like tablet device essentially. Like, there's all kinds of scanners out there now. It's crazy what's going on. So I was wondering if you guys have played with any of that technology yet. We see a lot of it at AU when we go. Dave and I go just about every year. So just curious what you guys have played with, what you guys saw, what were the results?
I haven't had a chance to mess with any of it, but I have. I've been at a couple trade shows and I've seen the backpack where they go around with the backpack. It seems like it's pretty good. I mean, until you can kind of dive into the point cloud and really get your eyes on it and see how it is on the back end. It seemed to me like it's still. What's that?
I think you got to see what the density. I mean, and it depends again on your usage case, I think, right? Because
it does.
What are you going to use that point cloud for?
If I'm going to do that, with the way I see it right now, the where it's at, that technology, as far as it comes down to our level, is if you're going to do, say, like an open warehouse type place, like say they're going to change over some old building and it's all open inside and you can like kind of weave through it fairly easily. But if I'm going into a mechanical room or if I'm going somewhere where there's a lot of things I need to pick up, whether it's pipe or duct or equipment, I'm still sticking right now with the traditional, like the tripod scanner. I think that technology, I'm positive it's going to be, it'll be to a point where you can move around wherever you need to and it'll grab it. But I think now, like you said, the density, when I saw the point cloud, just looking at it on a laptop where at the trade show, it seemed a little weaker than what I would want to see. If you just need structure, then I think it's probably save you a ton of time if you had a big large space to scan. But when it comes to like going multiple floors and you got to go in and out of rooms, I still think the traditional scanner is kind of the way to go.
Yeah,
at this point.
I agree. And what I want to see eventually is we're starting to see these new types of scanners where, of course, they're taking measurements, but they're also able to locate themselves. If we can see the GPS kind of integrated or even GIS integrated into a scan, right? In the sense of it knows where it is when it scans. It's going to auto register and stitch all these scans together, and we can kick out a nice automatic point cloud. I think that is going to help, I guess, push us further past where we are now. Yeah,
if they can kind of not guarantee but assure you're going to get some very, very minimal error as you move around, and I think if you're doing 10, 15 scans, 20 scans, no big deal. But if you're doing 200, 300 scans multi-floor, then you really got to watch what's going on there.
Exactly.
Well, we already have similar technology, but it's at a higher price point, right? So these mobile scanners seem to be at a very low price point compared to the $80,000. We're seeing them a little bit lower, like something like the entry level architecture type scanner or whatever, right? But there are packages in the hundreds of thousands range, 100,000 plus, that will they'll tie into like a base station setup. Like we could ride down a highway, scan the surface of the highway, and everything's all geolocated. Everything knows where it's at. So like getting to the point where that becomes more cost effective for building scans for vertical, like that becomes a game changer in its own right. But so Dave, you keep talking about this iPhone 12 because you're a big iPhone guy.
Oh yeah.
Big Apple guy. I'm a Samsung nerd.
Droid.
Yep, droids, man. To make fun of you UI, easy to use Apple guys, right? But this new iPhone 12 is it's a lower cost, right, for LiDAR, but it's a consumer device, and it seems to be all they're talking about now with this new device. Do you think like consumer devices like this, yes, they're on the lower end for what we need, but the photogrammetry, the stuff that we get out of it is actually really usable, like, because that's all I really need for a Revit model needs, right, is photogrammetry. Do you guys see lower cost consumer tech actually driving more tech in the industry? Do you think that might be a boon, or do you think that's probably going to be a wash in the end?
No, I think it's gonna be big. I don't think it's gonna be a throwaway.
Well, going back to kind of like the theme of what we're saying here, it's a big educational opportunity here. Once people could actually start getting this LiDAR in hand and they just start messing around with it, like, hey, let's look at what my living room looks like with this LiDAR, and they see how quick and easy it is, and really it's just like a dumbed down version of like a full scale 3D scan.
It's like a mesh at that point.
Yeah.
Thing off the iPhone.
So the iPhone's doing this super quickly, and they're thinking, wow, it would be great if I could do this for one of my buildings. And then they do some research and they find out how it's also like, hey, this is really cost effective. This could really push our industry forward just after they see how applicable it is and how technology has moved forward since probably the first time they ever heard of 3D scanning.
Dude, I completely agree, guys. I mean, it's very exciting to see this, because I think what we're going to see is more of an adoption as a whole. Like, this is going to spread out to multiple industries. I see this in so many different ways of people being able to show products, visualizing things. You're going to be able to send someone like a 3D mesh of the product that they're going to receive, right? And when you put this into a consumer grade technology, I love this podcast I listen to, Contact, quite a bit, and you hear them talk about construction grade technology, right? But it's also, in the same sense, they have these conversations on consumer technology and how it's affecting construction. And again, I think if we wrap around to even thinking about educating, right? You put this in the hands of everybody. You put this LiDAR capability in the hands of everybody. They can start, the younger generations can start adopting it, start learning it. Generations, it's easy, it's fun to learn, right? But you start seeing the uses for it. This starts becoming inspiration. I want to think like that little light bulb popping up, like, man, I wonder what else I could do with this. And
that's a great point.
I think this is going to spur that push towards more scanning and more adoption of this information, because again, they're putting it at the hands of everybody.
Yeah.
And you're going to see it if you make it easy, if you make it adoptable.
Well,
they'll take it.
That goes into, well, first things first. How dare you plug another podcast on our podcast?
I was just gonna say.
Oh, no, we like Contact.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have one of them on soon.
Josh.
So, yep, yeah. So the consumer technology definitely bleeds over. Like, everybody laments they blast us here in the construction. Say, oh, you guys are the last to adopt technology. You guys are even behind agriculture. That's crazy, But if you think about it, as a whole, maybe we are. But I think in the the major metropolis cities, we're adopting more and more. And I think a lot of it does does at least revolve around consumer grade technology. You think about it,
for sure.
I chat with a lot of like field guys, right? And field guys who curse technology up and down, but 3 seconds later they'll bust out their iPhone or their, if they're smarter, their Droid, and they know how to use their smartphone. They've got all the technology. They know all about the apps. They can do all that stuff.
Nice jab. Little undercut there.
Boom, gotcha. But they'll pull it up. They'll use the apps. They'll do all that stuff. The construction apps for field reporting versus filling out the paper form of job site conditions, all that fun stuff. They'll just type it in the app. They've got it. Or if they want to pull up a plan set, they'll do it on their phone or a tablet or whatever versus flipping open a paper set. Like, this is becoming more mainstream, but yet these are consumer devices. These are consumer.
Yep. I mean, right
Same
now,
technology.
Joey, we're seeing Recap Pro gives you mobile capacity to view your scans on, again, a mobile device. And that's what we're seeing a big push, even with Bluebeam with drawings. You're seeing this push to make it more deliverable, more simple. And they want to put it in everyday users' mobile device, because I don't care who you are out here anymore. If you're over the age of 20, 21, you probably have a mobile device, right? So if you can put
You're over the
this
age
information.
If you're over the age of 8,
Yeah.
I just said that to Joe too, right? 8 years old.
Yeah, right.
My
Like,
kid is in first grade, and she has classmates that have phones. And she's like, Dad, when can I have a phone? I'm like, never. Like, when you're old enough to pay for it? Come on.
Right? My 11-year-old keeps asking, and I'm like, no, you cannot have a phone. I love you, but no. Maybe, when we get older, you get into sports, things like that, but not yet.
I took a job at the local Piggly Wiggly. I grew up in North Texas. Took a job at the Piggly Wiggly, to get a cell phone, to pay for a cell phone. Like, come on, guys.
For a grocery store.
I had a Boost flip phone, dude. That thing was awesome. It would chirp. It was like the walkie-talkie phone. I loved it.
Oh yeah, the old Motorola's, remember?
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, if you make that technology available, you make that information available to anyone at any level, and people get more involved, right? People get excited about it.
Sure.
I think it's awesome. I really do, and I'm excited about it. I told Joey, as soon as they drop it, I'm gonna go get one. I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna scan my house. I'm gonna scan everything that I have, just because.
And just because it gets to the consumer level, right, where it's available to almost everybody, doesn't mean they're going to run out and buy a Faro scanner or a Trimble scanner, but they're going to start learning about what that is, and holy crap, okay, so that's what these guys have been telling me to do on my job sites,
Yes, that's it. Yes. If you can just get that little, like that light bulb that goes up, you know what I mean? It's how can we use this information, or how else can we use this? And again, making it available to everyone, I think it's gonna help. Yeah, it's gonna help every industry. I mean, I really believe that.
Yeah. Yep, I agree totally.
At least in the terms of, you can say buildings. I thinking in my head, like, man, I should scan my house. I had this wildfire scare a few weeks ago, right? And I'm running through my house trying to take pictures of everything that I own, because I'm like, man, if this house gets on fire, I really want to take pictures of this so I can turn this into insurance. If
grabbing your bourbon bottles at the same time.
Yeah, right. No, I don't want this bottle to go. This can't burn. We're taking this in the truck. Let's
leave the KD and Wild Turkey behind.
Yeah,
just rum. Grab the just rum.
Yeah, right. Just grab the rum, grab the whiskey. What is that? Okay, it's coming. But no, but I'm thinking about, what can I keep, what can I leave, and then how can I document all this? How can I turn this over to an insurance company? Are they really going to be able to see what I have and the details in my house? And you think about some of these houses that people have lost, or some of these intricate residential designs that we have. You cannot put into detail like how much work some people have done. And if we can, let's say, even just take a simple scan of their house to document it as what we have, how this house is before an emergency, it's going to help them visualize, but anybody else down the process of it visualize what they had. I think that's a huge thing, again, that's going to spread not just in our industry but to others involved with it.
You're thinking like more big scale and like coming up with all these useful things. I'm like more worried about like, oh shit, if this breaks, let me at least scan the broken piece and I can 3D print it out a replica or something.
No, that's a good thought too. I mean, honestly, if you could start, we have a lot of DIYers out there anyways. If you scan it, you can, make something 3D printed. That's very cool. But yeah, dude, I want to use this information. How can we, optimize this little scan mesh that we have, this picture, this 3D model that we have?
Yeah. 3D print your house. Then you got a dollhouse of your house.
There you go. There you go.
Well, save me the $150 or $300, however much doll houses are. I've got a 7-year-old who has her own dollhouse, and it was a few $100s. I can't believe how much they cost. It blows my mind for cheap MDF. And then I've got another one on the way. So if this one doesn't last, I'm making the next one.
No kidding.
Just plan on making it, Joey. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, this has been a great episode. I actually really enjoyed chatting with you guys. I was a little nervous going into this because we had just chatted with scanning, but you guys, we went in a whole other direction. We covered a lot more intricacies, and the fact that you guys offer this whole CAD approach to it. I love that. I'd love to find out more about your company and maybe highlight some more information at another point. If there's anything you guys want to say, feel free to say it now. We're happy to have you guys back on.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, first, we appreciate you guys having us on as well. This is it's a great format. Just kind of more conversational, I think, is a great way to kind of move in different directions and cover a bunch of topics without really even mapping it out, so to speak. Just kind of go off the cuff. It's great. Yeah. I mean, just encourage people, just check us out. Check our website out and see what we have to offer. And I'm a firm believer. I mean, it's just a learning every day. Like, you go out, I mean, things change so fast. Like you just said, this iPhone thing's coming out. I learn stuff every day out there scanning and working with Tim here on these projects. And so it's just it's an exciting industry to be in. I think it's in good shape. We're busy. Sounds like you guys are busy. There's a lot of work coming through, which I'm happy about. So there's plenty of work for everybody out there, and it's just an exciting part of technology in the construction world to be part of. So we're happy to be in the mix, and thanks again, guys.
Of course. Now, what was your website, or how can people reach you?
Is it CAD DJM?
CADDJM.com.
CAD DJM. Yep.
DJM.com.
Yeah, CADDJM.com, and everything's listed there. What we do, our contact info. So anyone has any questions, or we're happy to chat with people again, just to bring them up to speed of what we do, and if there's some way we can be part of projects, we're happy to talk and just kind of, even just that alone, just have a conversation.
That's what I love about our industry, and that's really where I see us wanting to go to, like, moving forward, is sharing this information, just bringing everybody up, saying, hey, this is what we do, this is how we can offer this information, and that just makes others aware, right? I mean, even that in itself is a huge piece to what we need, is making people aware of what we can use this data for. And thank you guys.
Yep, thank you. And we'll include links with this podcast for everybody to check out their website. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next one.
Have a great night, guys.